Hello and welcome to Rise Unwind. My name is Dan. You know, each and every week we try to talk to people from across the country about things you can do in your neighborhood. Didn't know that? Well, now you do. And on this week's show, we got this.
So we started low on a dose, and then gradually I've worked my way up. I'm not approaching it fast. I'm approaching it, low and slow.
It was, in some ways, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. I mean, I think, publicly, the public was angry that because they were heartbroken. So how dare you guys break up? Why can't you just be the Beatles? What are you doing?
First things first is understanding your lifetime risk of developing heart disease. And so getting your cholesterol levels checked, being checked for diabetes, which is an independent risk factor for heart disease, and then having a conversation with your doctor about any other tests that you should do.
I mean, we are still on the 60th anniversary tour. We will always play the greatest hits because, there's such a great demand from the fans.
All of that and more right here on that show we like to call Rise and Unwind. So what happens after you leave the biggest band in music history? For Paul McCartney, the end of the Beatles wasn't the end of the story. It was the start of a whole new chapter. Man on the Run from Oscar-winning director Morgan Neville takes us inside Paul's post-Beatles years, the launch of Wings, and a deeply personal decade that shaped his solo legacy. Morgan joins us today to talk about the film Paul McCartney, Man on the Run, which is now available on Prime Video. Welcome to the show, Morgan. How are you?
I'm very good. Good talking to you.
All right. The Beatles breakup is one of the most talked about moments in music history. What did you discover about Paul during that immediate aftermath that might surprise some of the fans out there?
I mean, so much. I mean, if you watch Get Back, Peter Jackson's kind of 8-hour version of the Beatles at the end, making Let It Be, you see Paul is driving everything. Songs are pouring out of him. And the question is, what happens the day that disappears? And what happens is that Paul has a true heartbreak. I mean, he's the one that wanted the Beatles more than anybody. And, he essentially is told by John Lennon that John wants a divorce from the band. And Paul, within 2 weeks, runs off to Scotland with his new wife, Linda, and their new baby, Mary, and tries to figure out what he's going to do. Is he even going to make music anymore? And so these next few years, he really struggles. And that's the part of the story I don't think people really understand, and that whole life of him trying to figure out who he was if he wasn't a Beatle.
So what was that period for him, creatively and personally, and him trying to find himself?
It was in some ways, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. I mean, I think, publicly, the public was angry that because they were heartbroken. So how dare you guys break up? Why can't you just be the Beatles? What are you doing? And Paul's wife, Linda, takes a lot of flack for, did she help break up the band? Same thing happened with John and Yoko. There's just a lot of kind of anger, and the critics are saying, your music isn't as good as what the Beatles were. It was kind of an impossible shadow to escape, but that's Paul's mission. He has no choice but to try and escape it. So he tries and tries different things for years to kind of see who am I and what is my voice now as just Paul McCartney. And part of that then comes into fruition when he starts the band Wings. So it's the model he knows. I'm going to be in a band with some other people, and there's a camaraderie to it that makes me feel like I'm not alone. And through that, he finally starts doing albums like Band on the Run and becomes kind of more the Paul of who we know today.
And we also get to see some rare archival footage and a little bit of intimate family photography from Linda McCartney. How did those elements help you tell a more vulnerable side of Paul's story?
I mean, there's incredible footage we found. I mean, there's footage of Paul filming himself alone, writing songs at a piano, or with the kids, and the singing songs at Christmas time. There is a real intimacy to the footage, that's really the main thing I wanted to convey, that this is a story kind of from the inside out. It's a story where we really kind of understand what Paul was dealing with and how he was dealing with it. You see an insecurity in Paul that I don't think you really see publicly.
So what do you think the story tells about resilience and reinvention?
I mean, I think it's a story, and Paul's story is how not to doubt your own creative instincts. I think, the world always wants you to doubt what you do and judge what you do. And I think Paul's strength at this time is I'm going to do whatever the hell I feel like. And that's fine. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, fine. And he does some crazy things that work and things that don't work. He releases, Mary Had a Little Lamb as a 45, which, nobody particularly likes. But then he puts out Mull of Kintyre, which becomes the biggest selling single in England in history. So they're both kind of crazy ideas. But I think he was all about embracing the crazy idea at the time. So creatively, I think it's pretty inspirational.
And for some of the lifelong Beatle fans out there, or even some of the brand new fans that may just know Paul from today, what do you hope audiences may take away after watching Man on the Run?
I mean, I know because everybody tells me this, when you're done watching the film, you're going to go listen to a lot of music because there's a lot of music to explore. But also just an understanding that Paul's a real person dealing with real issues that are actually pretty relatable.
Morgan, I want to thank you for joining me today. Paul McCartney, Man on the Run, is available now on Prime Video. It's an intimate look at a music icon, redefining himself in real time, and it's a must-watch for any music fan. Morgan Neville, I want to thank you for joining me today.
Great talking to you.
WrestleMania is already one of the biggest events in sports entertainment, and this year it's turning into an entire week-long takeover in Las Vegas. From SmackDown to Raw to the massive two-night WrestleMania at Allegiant Stadium, fans are getting more action than ever. So joining us now is WWE superstar Liv Morgan, champion, rule breaker, and one of the most dangerous competitors in the game. Welcome to the show, Liv. How are you?
Thank you. I love that introduction. Thank you. I'm doing well. I woke up the greatest Royal Rumble winner of all time. So I have no complaints,
All right. Congratulations to you. You've been kicking butt, both literally and figuratively. WrestleMania 42 just got even bigger with SmackDown and Raw added to the week. What does it mean to be part of like an entire WrestleMania week instead of just one night?
Yeah. So WrestleMania week is always chaotic in the best way. We have Friday Night SmackDown, as you said, Monday Night Raw. We have the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony where Stephanie McMahon's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So iconic. And then we have our 2-day spectacle of WrestleMania. It is a very busy week, but it is so worth it. There is so much connection with the WWE universe. So many opportunities to run into your favorite WWE superstar and get an autograph and get a photo. Giving back to the WWE Universe and the community of Las Vegas for so graciously hosting us in our second year of WrestleMania there. Last year we had our most successful WrestleMania of all time in Las Vegas as far as attendance and viewership. And so we are excited to run it back and do it bigger and better than ever.
You've had some massive moments in your career. Money in the Bank, championship wins, the Revenge Tour. When you look at this year's WrestleMania season, where does that rank for you personally?
Ooh, well, I think for me, it might end up ranking as number one because after 11 years of hard work and dedication, I've finally certified myself a spot in the WrestleMania event. Which day, I don't know, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to walk out a champion. And so I'm super excited.
Okay, and Backlash is coming up in Tampa in May, and it's the first premium live event after WrestleMania. How does the energy shift after WrestleMania, and why should fans expect fireworks at Backlash?
Yeah, so WrestleMania to me kind of signifies like the start of the wrestling new year. We work all year to lead into WrestleMania, to tell these stories and have these matches at WrestleMania. And once it's done, it kind of feels like a reset. So Backlash being the first PLE in the wrestling new year, as far as I'm concerned, in Tampa, where I'm currently from. So I kind of feel like the hometown hero walking in, a brand new champion. So you can expect excitement, chaos, and I'm known to be a little bit messy. So you can expect a mess.
All right, some fans love you, some fans love to hate you. Either way, they're watching, but how do you channel that reaction when you step into the ring?
Kind of exactly what you said. They either love to hate me or hate to love me, and I welcome and appreciate it all because I don't really care what you think about me, respectfully. It is what it is, and I'm going to do the same thing that I do regardless. But I appreciate the noise. Everything that we do is for the audience and for their energy. So whether they're cheering or booing me, I appreciate it nonetheless.
Maybe you should challenge some of them to the ring themselves.
They can't handle me. Are you kidding me?
All right, for anyone who's never experienced a WWE live event in person, what's different about being inside that arena compared to like just watching it at home?
Yeah, so watching at home, you get all the camera angles, you get the commentary on your TV. It's a very much more intimate, controlled experience. But live, you have the energy of the hundreds of thousands of people that got a ticket with you that are cheering or booing their favorite WWE superstars. It is such a mix of athleticism, sport, entertainment, blended in a way that only WWE can provide. So you are definitely in for a treat because WWE is for everyone and we want everyone to be entertained. So you bring your mom, your uncle, your cousins, your dog. I don't think dogs are allowed in the venue, so you can't bring your dog, but your dog can sit and enjoy at home if you don't come to the show. But I recommend coming to the show.
I've also heard that you're becoming a movie star and have a project on the way.
I have something on the way. Bad Lieutenant, I filmed in Japan last year. It's going to hit theaters in September. I was very excited about the project. I learned a lot and I feel better after the fact, having the experience. I was lucky to be in the room with all of these incredibly talented veterans of the film industry. And the WWE audience is going to see me in a way that I think perhaps they never thought they'd see me. So I would tune in.
Liv Morgan, I want to thank you for joining me today. WrestleMania 42 takes over Las Vegas April 18th and 19th at Allegiant Stadium, with SmackDown on April 17th and Raw on April 20th at the T-Mobile Arena. And WWE Backlash heads to Tampa on May 9th. You can get your tickets and full event details at WWE.com. Liv, I want to thank you for hanging out with me today.
Thank you. Have a good day. And don't forget to watch me. Future champion over here, okay?
More than 60 years of rock, and they're still filling arenas. From Rock You Like a Hurricane to Wind of Change, the Scorpions have sold over 110 million records and helped define rock for generations. Now they're heading back to Las Vegas for a brand new residency celebrating 6 decades of music. So joining us from Germany, we've got Klaus Meine and Matthias Jabs of Scorpions. It's great to have you both here. How are you?
Great.
Very good. How are you? Thanks for having
Good morning.
us.
I'm doing good. All right. It's been 60 years. That's one heck of a long time for pretty much any business. When you look back, what stands out most about the journey from those in the early days in Hanover to now headlining another Vegas residency?
Oh, it's crazy when you think about it, because for German band, when we started out in the early 70s, writing lyrics in English, it was a big dream, to say one day we'll play the United States. And when we had the chance to come over in 79 and throughout the 80s, this dream came true, and it's a wonderful thing after so many years that we're still together, still playing a global stage and, still rocking like a hurricane. And we can't wait to come back for another residency in Vegas in September, and hope many, many fans from all over the place will join us and see us there.
And songs, like you mentioned, Rock You Like a Hurricane, No One Like You, and Winds of Change, still connect with a new audience. What do you think gives those songs that staying power?
I mean, first of all, with No One Like You, I think we were in 1982 with a Blackout tour. We were the most played radio song on rock radio, at least, and gave us the headline status in the States touring, and then followed by Rock You Like a Hurricane. The 80s were extremely good for the Scorpions, and with Wind of Change, we topped it all in the early 90s, and those are 3 iconic songs which we still play live and which carried us through the decades, plus many other songs like Still Loving You, Big City Nights, whatever we have. And all those greatest hits we will play on stage at the Residency in Vegas.
Yes, Vegas has become a home base for you. The last couple of years, and I think we talked last year, what makes this residency different from the previous runs you've done?
We have to find out. I mean, we are still on the 60th anniversary tour. We will always play the greatest hits because, there's such a great demand from the fans. but we have time enough to think about something very special.
So when you build the set list for a show like this, how do you balance the massive hits with some of the deeper cuts and maybe even some new material?
They have to be a good balance, you know, because there's so many songs that the fans want to hear, definitely, you know, and so we throw in songs also from Rock Believer, our latest album, you know, so like songs like Gas in the Tank, but also all-time classics like The Zoo, Loving You Sunday Morning, Tease Me, Please Me, you know, all these rockers, and a couple beautiful ballads like Send Me an Angel are in the set as well, you know, so many songs we just have to play, and then we think about on digging deep into some other material we haven't played for quite a while.
So after 6 decades, what still excites you about walking on stage and hearing that crowd?
The fans. I mean, it's the roar of the audience. The minute you go out, you might be nervous before you walk out on stage, but the minute you see the fans, you're connected and it clicks, you know, and together we have a magic evening, rocking out like crazy. And especially in Vegas, there couldn't be a better place to celebrate 60 years of Scorpions.
Hey, I want to thank you two for joining me today. Scorpions coming home to Las Vegas. 60 plus years of Scorpions kick off this fall at PH Live at Planet Hollywood Resort and Casino. Tickets are on sale now. Get them at Ticketmaster.com/ScorpionsVegas. If you ever wanted to hear those anthems live in one room, this is your chance. I want to thank you two one more time for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
And enjoy. Have a good day.
Heart disease is still the #1 killer in the United States, and millions of Americans are taking statins every day to lower their risk. But new research is showing a lot of people may not understand how those medications affect something called CoQ10, an enzyme that plays a key role in heart health. Dr. Tania Elliot is a dual board-certified physician, internal medicine, and immunology, and she's here to walk us through what this new study found and what patients should be discussing with their doctors. Welcome to the show, Dr. Elliot. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so first, what exactly is CoQ10 and why does it matter so much when we're talking about heart health?
So coenzyme Q10 is a compound that is essential for our muscles to create energy and for our muscles to function. And the highest concentration of coenzyme Q10 is in our heart, which is a muscle. Lots of people think, oh, your heart's an organ. Well, it's actually a muscle, right? And it needs lots of energy and it needs lots of coenzyme Q10. Now, the issue with CoQ10 is it decreases with age. It's not just found in the heart muscles, but it's found in other muscles in the body too. And it decreases with statin use. Now, statins are really important to be on if you have high cholesterol and you have risk for cardiovascular disease. Over 90 million Americans are on statins. They're super important medications, and they're really good at lowering cholesterol levels, but they also inadvertently lower our coenzyme Q10 levels.
And you're releasing new study results. What stood out most to you?
So the study was conducted by a leading supplement company called Doctors Best. And what they want to understand is what are people's general understanding of their risk for heart disease and what to do about it. And the study revealed that over 60% of people didn't even know their heart disease risk, which is wild because we know it's the #1 killer of Americans, and one person dies every 34 seconds from heart disease. The second thing it showed is that 50% of Gen Zers, so these are people under the age of 30, were worried about their heart, and they cited stress and chronic stress as that major risk factor for not feeling well, for having low energy, and for feeling fatigued. And we know stress is a risk factor for heart disease. It also showed that 17% of those Gen Zers, so these are people under the age of 30 that we, in our minds, think are healthy, right? 17% of those survey respondents were on a statin for their cholesterol and to protect against heart disease. And very few people knew anything about this correlation between being on a statin and that statin lowering CoQ10 levels.
All right, for somebody out there that is thinking, okay, what do I do with this? What conversation should they be having with their doctor to lower their heart disease risk?
First things first is understanding your lifetime risk of developing heart disease. And so getting your cholesterol levels checked, being checked for diabetes, which is an independent risk factor for heart disease, and then having a conversation with your doctor about any other tests that you should do. There's an imaging study that could actually take a picture of your heart to determine whether or not you've got plaque buildup in your heart. And there are other blood tests that are a little bit more precise at helping you identify what your lifetime risk is of cardiovascular disease. So now we've got awareness. The second piece is understanding the relationship between statins and CoQ10. And that's really a conversation with your doctor to say, hey, I'm on a statin. Is CoQ10 supplementation right for me? And usually I say to patients, hey, just eat your supplements, get it from your diet and food. But the highest concentration of CoQ10 is found in organ meat. So I found that to be kind of a hard sell for my patients to recommend eating organ meat every day. And lots of them prefer the supplementation. So chat with your doctor about it. We understand that people who are on CoQ10 supplementation actually have better cardiac outcomes.
You're right. The joys of snacking on organ meat is not something I go for. All right, so where can people go if they want to read more or learn more about this research?
You can check out doctorsbest.com to learn more about CoQ10. They have a CoQ10 supplement that's bioavailable. You want to make sure the supplement you're taking is actually something your body can use, so that's important. And also just general stats and information about heart disease and what you could do to lower your heart disease risk.
Dr. Elliot, I want to thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
GLP-1 medications have changed the conversation around weight loss. A lot of people are seeing results, but doctors say medication alone isn't the full picture. So what actually makes it stick long term? Misty Mace is finally seeing success after years of trying, and Dr. Michelle Gourdine, Chief Medical Officer for CVS Caremark, is here to explain why a whole person approach actually matters. Welcome to the show, you two. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Misty, you've been on this journey for a while. What's it been like for you personally?
For me, it has been a journey. It's been up and down. I've had some plateaus, I've had some highs, and I've had some lows. I developed obesity in elementary school, and we could just not figure out what was going on. I was active. I was always outdoors, but I started becoming tired. And after school, after high school, we learned that I had thyroid cancer. And so I had my thyroid removed and went through years of radiation treatment. Then I became a wife, a mom. I have a special needs 19-year-old son. And then I became a nurse. And in teaching my patients, I had to practice what I preached. And so how can I, in this appearance, teach someone about weight loss when it appeared that I wasn't even doing the same? But it was a struggle. And so I decided I need to get some help.
So at what point did you decide to try a GLP-1 medication? And why did this time feel different from some of your previous attempts?
Well, I had tried different fad diets. I had been counting carbs. I had been trying the, fad diets of so many points for this and different things like that. And so I joined CVS's weight management program and I got a health coach. And in working with my health coach, I realized that we had to make behavioral changes and habit changes. And then after I accomplished that and was doing really good with that, we added in my physician. And I had the conversation of, was this medication right for me? I have other things going on. I'm a diabetic. I have high blood pressure and high cholesterol. And so we had to think about those things. And in talking with my physician and a specialist, we decided that a GLP-1 was right for me. So we started low on a dose, and then gradually I've worked my way up. I'm not approaching it fast. I'm approaching it, low and slow, and that way. And then I had to develop a support system. So outside of my health coach and my physicians, I had my family support. And my husband's my biggest fan, and he's my biggest support. And we all had to make a household change in order for this to be successful for me.
And Dr. Gourdine, we hear about the early success in these medications, and I've had friends be successful, but research is showing that results don't always last. So what should patients be understanding about some of these realistic long-term expectations?
Yeah, GLP-1s are really revolutionary drugs. They drive a level of weight loss that we've just not seen with any other drugs that came before them on the market. And this is relevant in today's times because, frankly, we have an epidemic of obesity in this country. And it's really important for me to say this. Obesity is not a failing of willpower. What we know about the science of obesity is that the body is actually wired to prevent us from starving. And so for many of us, just eating right and exercising and losing weight really triggers in the body sort of a warning signal like, whoa, whoa, whoa. This person is dropping their weight below a set amount. And so the body then slows down the metabolism. It increases feelings of hunger in order to keep that weight back up. That's why for many people, eating right, exercising alone don't work. The GLP-1s come in and sort of flip that script. So what they do is they keep the metabolism high. They keep the feelings of hunger low so that you can reach a healthier weight. But what we also know is that that medication and the sort of impact of that medication does not last long enough, you really do have to couple that with changes in your behavior, changes in your habits, as Misty stated. And we also understand that people need support in fitting those changes into their day-to-day lives. And so what we do in our CVS Weight Management Program is we combine access to the medication to the support that people need to make those day-to-day changes. And we know that that combination of the two drives long-term success.
And speaking of changes, Misty, you've made some day-to-day changes to build that support. What are some of those things that have helped and build those long-term goals?
As I said before, the habit changes, that was huge for me. And by doing that, we changed how we shopped. We changed how we cooked. I'm a Texas gal. We cook things, meat and potatoes. Everything is breaded, things like that. And so I had to really think about how I was going to approach it. And now I'm over 57 pounds down, 57 pounds today. I no longer do insulin. I no longer do my diabetes medication. I still work with my doctors, and just being honest and accountable. Accountability is rough, but that was the huge and the biggest change for me, was holding myself accountable for the choices that I was making. And now I'm rocking it. I'm ready to keep going.
And Dr. Gourdine, for someone in Kansas that's considering a GLP-1 medication, what conversation should they be having with their healthcare provider just to decide if it is right for them?
Yeah, there are a few things you really should talk to your doctor about. First of all, having that conversation as to whether or not GLP-1s are safe for you, whether the doctor believes they're going to be successful for you, is a shared decision that the two of you need to make before starting on this medication. Secondly, side effects. People are concerned about the side effects of these medications. Most of them are minor, but inconvenient. And there are ways to manage those side effects by the doctor adjusting the dosing so that, again, that dialogue between the doctor and the patient ongoing is really, really important to minimize the side effects. And frankly, most people end up feeling better over time with those adjustments. The third thing is cost. These drugs are expensive. And so a question as to whether or not your insurance will cover these drugs, that's something that needs to be discussed, or if there are other ways to make these medicines more affordable. Because if the medicines aren't affordable, people aren't going to stay on them. And if they don't stay on them, they're not going to work. And then finally, what's your commitment to that long-term sort of changes in your lifestyle and your behaviors and your habits that's really going to be necessary? Because at the end of the day, the medications kickstart the weight loss process, but it's really those lifestyle changes and behavior changes that drive towards long-term success.
All right. So where can people go if they want some more information?
They can go to cvshealth.com.
I want to thank you, too, for joining me today.
Thank you.
And that is it for Rise Unwind. I want to thank you for tuning in and checking out the show. I know it's so sad we got to leave so early, but if you like us so much, you want to follow us on social media, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, our website, that's riseunwindtv.com, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, also at Rise Unwind. And until next week, that was the show we like to call Rise and Unwind.